I'll start it out with just welcome to Kenneycast. I'm Tony Krueger, Cody Plagens. Today our guest is Sean McConnell, which we are super pumped to have here at the Kenney store. And this will be your third time here.
Third time.
The first time, I mean, that was the last show of that tour. It was in November a couple years ago. And we kind of got you last year because you really only do this a couple times a year where you run down through Texas. Is that the case?
It just depends. It's kind of been different. I've probably been coming down here now 14 or 15 years, and there were some years I was doing like 100 shows in Texas,
okay.
Or maybe less than that, but 80, 90 shows down here, other places, other times. But yeah, this year specifically, I think we had like 4 windows of like 2 acoustic, 2 full band tours, and that seems to be like a good balance as I produce more and feel those things out. So it's working nice.
Because you're there in Tennessee full time.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, for everybody that doesn't kind of know your past, I mean, I know married and daughter and all that stuff, but give a quick rundown, kind of where you're from, where you're at now, the marital situation, your daughter, all that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the full
history,
kind of
where you were born,
all that stuff. Yeah. Born into a family of musicians in Massachusetts. I'm one of 4 kids. My dad is a songwriter. My mom's a singer. They were in and out of bands like all throughout like our childhood, folk bands, kind of like folk covers like Crosby, Stills, Nash, James Taylor, Springsteen, Joni Mitchell.
A Wilder Blue kind of feel thing going on?
Yeah, I was just with Zane.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, last night. But yeah, we were brought up like songwriting, people bringing instruments over, and that's just kind of how we were raised, which was really, looking back, obviously I didn't really stand a chance, and it was kind of gave me the bug.
What was the first instrument you started playing?
Guitar.
Guitar?
Yeah, I was guitar, and I've always kind of like, there's a piano as a kid, I would want to play it, never learned it like the guitar, but kind of those two things at the same time. But really focused on the guitar.
Did you play in a band with your mom and dad?
They would get us up for songs. Like, there's one Harry Chapin song that they would get us up at the end of the night if we were all like 4 kids there. And it was always kind of, fun part of the show. Yeah.
So you obviously, just from what you're saying, started with guitar, started dabbling with the piano, but never, so you play by ear, I take it. It's not, you didn't go to school, wasn't in choir or band or something? Were you
I
in
did
that
choir,
school?
actually. I did choir. The only formal training I've had, there was when I was first learning, my first teacher was, my mom and my dad taught me a couple of chords on the guitar. And then I actually did a whole other podcast last week on one of your favorite records, and I talked a lot about this guy named David Wilcox, who's like a huge hero of mine, and I would learn by putting on like my dad would go to work, I'd steal the nice guitar, put on David Wilcox VHS,
right,
and just learn his songs, but also learning how to play guitar. And his thing was open tunings. Like, I don't know I've ever heard him play a standard tuned guitar, kind of like in the history of Joni Mitchell or James Taylor. But when I was growing up, David Wilcox was like who I pretended to be and tried to sound like until I could, there was something in his music that was calling to me, and that I would eventually find that's my own thing. But he really did, in that way, like teach me guitar and a lot about songwriting too.
Did you ever figure out what that was? It was what was calling from his music. Were you able, after writing and singing and producing and all that, ever go, oh, that's what it was?
Just last week, when I was kind of faced with the daunting task of picking your favorite record, which is a whole other conversation, and then really having time to like think about why do I love this record that I have this huge relationship with and have for, I'm 40 now, so I don't know.
Right.
You're
40
years.
Are you 40 years old?
Yeah, 41.
Okay.
Yeah. And one thing that I did come up with was, I think early on, aside from the beautiful guitar and all that stuff, lyrically, he did and still does. There's some addressing of the spiritual journey without it taking any form that takes you off of your path.
Right.
That even at a young age, I think I needed it, resonated with it, and I felt like I wanted my music to do that as well.
I've noticed over the this album Skin was I don't want to say it was. We talked about it before. He said it was kind of like you never see Rodney Crowell come out with the same album kind of deal, and this was
Or through the years you could break him down into 5 different artists.
right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how this album feels to me. Like it's the next step, man. It's cool.
I'm glad it does, because it always feels like that for us on the other side of it,
Right.
or maybe it doesn't. I always feel like I hope it feels like that.
Right.
But it was that. It really was.
Do you see traditionally from the producing side what we're talking about there that traditionally the guys that don't write for themselves that end up just kind of having to grab what they grab, they end up in, I don't want to say pigeonhole, but they kind of end up in this dimension over here that they can kind of stay in through their career because they know what they like, and as songs they're getting thousands, the great ones are getting thousands of songs pitched to them.
Right.
So therefore they start to get in this thing. But as a writer, and as you mature and as you grow, and whether it's going from single to a dad to a husband to your spiritual side of things, and where your inner growth, I guess, your maturity as a songwriter, y'all, and I say y'all like the songwriters that end up writing and singing and then especially producing, the ones that can do that, you can see their music follow their life.
And
Yeah.
your fans are traveling your life with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they know where you're at, man. It's good stuff.
And it's cool to see. And I mean, you always run the risk, and you see it over the years to where, and we do it ourselves, to where you see that first album or that second album, and then all of a sudden the artist makes a switch.
Yeah.
And some of these will fall off, but then all of a sudden they'll pick up some more. It's kind of like when the restaurants went to non-smoking back in the days. You lost the smokers, but you picked up the people that
Exactly,
didn't hate smokers.
Yeah.
So,
I think I think about that a lot, and I think every artist is different. Everyone's path is different. The artists that don't write, that they join the tradition of like Sinatra, and that's not a new thing, obviously.
Right.
It's a certain it's like different types of magic I think you have access to.
Okay.
They're not better or worse, but
Right.
I've been thinking a lot about this as a songwriter, because and even more as a producer, actually, because when you're in the studio, and this record is a perfect example of that, there's just like a magic of seeing something that hasn't like be birthed into the world. Like there's nothing here, and then all of a sudden there's like this magic happening. And songwriting is that on its own level, deeper, not deeper, just on its own level, where it's like, whether it's you co-writing, or for me, often I'm by myself and I'm writing, and you're just working maybe for, sometimes it's quick, maybe I'm at a piano for 5 hours, and if there was video rolling, it would probably just be me singing the same fucking line time after time after time, moving on to like, oh, this might be a chorus, and then like 5 minutes of just like sitting. It's a waiting for like this thing to like kind of come out of the sky.
Be able to grab it out of the air.
So you're starting on the piano and waiting on the words to come to the music?
Often it's like the instrument, whether it's a guitar or piano, it will often start with, you just put your hands up, like what do you feel like you want to play, leads to a melody, and then normally the lyrics kind of like come after those two things. But it can happen, it has happened differently.
To me, the words have to come first. I'm a lyrics guy though, but he's a
I'm more of the melody guy.
Melody and voice guy.
Yeah.
We kind of it's wild because we're on totally different spectrums, and we start sharing stuff with each other, and
that's why that's why our conversations have been so great, and I genuinely feel that the music here at the store has been what it is because I've had influences like Cody, because realistically I grew up in what I would say just that the top 40. I mean, I'm 49 years old, so it's what's on FM radio,
right.
and or AM radio, even through that, and so I grew up with, man, I grew up with Daryl Singletary and George Strait and Gene Watson and all these big singers and that were just on the radio because they were the best singers at the time because there wasn't a TikTok or American Idol or Voice. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. I'm saying
Right.
they didn't have the avenues. You had to go through a lot of filters before they spent the money on you to go on radio.
Yeah.
Not that they all had the best voice, but it was really a lot more about the voice. What I never knew about the business is what his favorite part, which is the Billy Joe Shavers on the backside that's writing for Waylon.
Right.
I don't know there's a Billy Joe Shaver alive until later on.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't understand.
Hubbard.
Hubbard, you know. I don't
Thank God for men like
I
this.
agree.
Or
No,
people
no.
like
And
this.
him
No.
too. He introduced me to you. And he introduced me to Daryl Singletary. I mean, I knew Daryl Singletary, but I'm thinking
Hal
too much
Ketchum?
fun, you know.
Yeah.
Hal Ketchum.
Hal Ketchum was one. I was like,
Oh
dude,
my
this
God.
guy can sing. You
Yeah.
just can't imagine. He's like, oh, really? Comes to the show and he's like,
Because I turned.
that may be the greatest show. You know,
That's so cool.
I switched channels in the '90s when I was hearing that stuff, and I'm listening to Waylon and Hank
Yeah.
Jr. and that stuff, you know, and listening to the lyrics, and I'm asking him, you know, hey man, you hear that line in this song? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right. You're always
He's
listening
a
to the
Boy
lyrics.
Scout, a lyrics guy.
Yeah.
He made me start really listening to the words.
Yeah.
You know, which
And you made me appreciate the voices. I mean, it's
we've had a good yin and yang where we've kind of, he's like, yeah, I'm like, that guy can't sing, you know, and he's going,
Right.
well, listen to the words. I'm like,
listen to that line, man.
I'm like,
That's
yeah, but
genius.
that's kind of poetry. It's
Totally.
not, that's not a singer, that's a poet. Well, then all of a sudden I start going, oh, heck, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You know, this was perfect, you know,
Right.
and then, you know, and then I'm listening to nothing but Ray Wally Hubbard songs for 3 weeks.
Right,
you know,
right.
Record for 3 weeks going, these guys are genius, you know.
You hit them both.
Oh, my gosh.
You hit it
Oh,
from
thank
both
you.
sides.
No, and that's why, I mean, for me, you know, my wife, my daughter, my oldest son, they knew all your music, and then Jacob lived in Tennessee, which is kind of where you were at, and kind of, you know, he was in the music industry, so he kind of, hey, you got to check this out, and I'm like, oh, okay. And man, when I first heard you sing on a record, I was blown away.
Oh, thank you.
And then Rita and I and him, he was part of that trip. We went to the Heights Theater. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. You
Longer
played
than
there.
that,
Yeah, maybe 6, 7 years ago.
Wow.
And saw you there. It was my first exposure to, you know, unbelievable venue. And then on July 28th, about 3 years ago, you were at Dosey Doe.
Yeah.
Rita's birthday.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, what are you going to do for your birthday? And she said, I don't know, surprise me. And I said, how about a Sean McConnell concert at Dosey Doe on your birthday? It's 27th, actually, I think. And so we went over there and saw that.
I love it.
And then Ross reached out because I tried to book you years ago, and it was kind of one of these deals to where, I mean, you were just too big because we only were a 100-seater back then, and you know, you had your kind of set tour and your cap, you know, that y'all needed to meet,
Yeah.
and then we got to get bigger, so where we could kind of get you in there.
I'm
And,
glad it worked out.
I mean, it's
such an honor to be
been
here.
one
every
of
time.
the cooler shows that I get to look forward to all year.
Dude,
to
us
see you
too.
come.
We've been talking about it in the van
No, it's
all
awesome.
day. Me and Joe, who's the only other guy who's been here.
So when'd you get married?
We've been married for 20 years.
Okay.
Um,
Where'd you meet her at?
sophomore in college. We met in college.
I was going to ask you if you went to school.
Yeah.
What'd you major in?
So I did like middle school, high school in Georgia, and that's when I started like I'm bringing a PA system. I'm just gonna play, put out a bucket type of a stuff, and started like a really cool, you know, enough to be gigging and doing that. But then, as parents do at that time, especially like got to go to college. What do you want to do? So I was like, if I have to,
This?
yeah,
I wanna do
I
this?
wanna do this. But if I have to pause this for 4 years. I'll go somewhere that there's a music program,
Right.
which got me to MTSU in Middle Tennessee State,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that's where I met my wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So
did you meet her in class, or did you
Yeah.
meet her at a gig?
We met at class.
Class?
Yeah.
it
It's
was
about
she,
as classic as it gets.
was she musically?
She has a great voice. She doesn't
Okay.
do music professionally, but one of the first things we really like had in common was at the time opening up our books of CDs and being like, wow, these are like very similar and
Right.
kind of like a lot of people that not many people really listen
Wasn't a
to.
bunch of George, just your every
I mean,
James Taylor,
she's-
George Strait.
She's 90s country. That's her.
Okay.
That is her favorite.
Okay.
But she also had this folk underbelly because I think of the ties to like country and like obviously like Towns and Guy Clark and that kind of also bleeds into like this. There's guys I grew up with like David Wilcox or like John Gorka and Sean Colvin, people from the folk world that it is such like a similar. It kind of comes down to it's all about the song,
Right.
you know, and
Right.
writing the song that's meant to be born, and that's something those genres kind of have in common, I think.
So tell me where this album seems to, as a lot of artists will, and not a lot, but I mean, and very few get it done properly, I feel like. How do you turn as far inward as you did on this album and still reach the public? Because I feel like this album was a deep dive into Sean McConnell for Sean McConnell. I don't know if you were trying to figure out who you were, and I'm not saying, I mean, but I know that 35 to 40, where all of a sudden you're like, okay,
Yeah,
I've kind of got that figured out. I don't know really what's coming here, but
right.
Some
Yeah,
so was longer.
yeah, exactly. So what?
Yeah.
How do you dive that deep inside yourself and still deliver the message that you did that people? I mean, 'cause it's so easy to receive. I mean, it's a phenomenal record, and it's so deep without being too deep.
Thank you. I think it's well. First of all, I really don't, especially with this record. I don't think of the audience or the reception of it because I don't want that to taint the natural. If I put I need you to do this. I'm speaking to the music. Then
Right.
then what are we doing? Like,
Yep.
That comes down to like art versus commerce. Neither's good or bad, but
Right,
just
no, I
choices of like where's my energy at right now. I can't be thinking I hope everyone at the Kenny store like loves the way this song sounds on a record, or like my Texas, people who come to shows in Texas, or because then I'll start making choices based on the past, like what worked in
Right.
the past. And we were talking earlier, maybe even before the cameras were on, about this record feeling different.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to not think I had to evolve as an artist. I didn't consider that anything I needed to worry about. I was very happy being the guy with the guitar, writing a certain type of song that sounds a certain way for a very long time. Not that I didn't naturally evolve from like record to record, but these days, maybe it's a product of producing and being in the studio and just feeling when you do butt up against just what you would naturally do, what can happen if you let go of those, any expectations, and it just, it's where all the magic is. It's where
Right.
all of the magic is,
And this one's magical.
It resonates, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
saying, I'm thinking, anybody who's at that point in their life, some people may hit it at 20 years old, some may hit it at 50 years old, but you hit that point where you kind of self-realization of like, a lot of my problems, it ain't the world's fault. It's
Yeah.
right here.
Well, that's just that's it. It wasn't even like I want to make a record about this. It's just, these are the things that I'm dealing with.
Right.
This is the season I'm in, and whether it's it's very cliche that it's around 40, or
It's not.
whether it's
That's life, man.
yeah, it's I mean, this world is a crazy place. I think the only thing that we have to really offer is what naturally what naturally comes out of us, and I just don't want to ever. I do as little as I can to like stop that,
Right. It's
As I-
honest.
as I get older.
It's honest. It comes across that way.
You had, I don't even know how to exactly share this. Other than, and it was very recently, I've followed your career enough, follow you on social. You play in here. We have each other's, we've texted, hello, how do you do, whatever. My point being is I didn't know you. I don't know you. But what I did know is that I felt like faith-wise, spiritually-wise, I'm not saying religion, I'm saying your faith, your spirituality is strong. Mine is very strong at this point. And this morning, of all times, I was I was walking this morning and was listening to something, and you crossed my mind because I was thinking about the show, thinking about the interview and all that. And there's nothing that you ever said, but you and I come from different backgrounds. I feel like if we were at the polling place, we may even go opposite ways. But I'll tell you what you taught me through your music and what you've taught me through the last few years through your social, just the way you care and the way you seem to love and just care about everybody is that you really seem to have what took me a long time to figure out, and you've helped show me, I know it's weird, but you've helped show me the understanding that if we just love everybody, we don't have to interact with everybody because the world is as crazy as it can be on both sides. When you're a hero is just a villain to the other side kind of mentality. So no matter which way you're looking, it's going to look polar opposite of where probably I'm at if I'm looking that far away.
Right.
And I feel like that we came from different backgrounds, different, just somewhat different views, but you've shown me
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't
Everybody's
matter.
at the
I just got to thank
same
you, man. You've opened, you've helped me mature spiritually and just as a person. Not by one thing just by the delivery of your music and the message that you've been able to deliver to me the last few years. It's been recent, and it's just kind of listening to some of your stuff in this new album. It changed some stuff for me. It was really thank you. It was really amazing. So I appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing that. I mean, I don't.
Your writing is wonderful. I mean, it touches people. It really does matter.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I didn't want to try to get heavy, but you made an impact on my life, and I know that you do from fans, and I know after the show when they come up and they go, "You sang my favorite song or my wedding song," and I know that resonates with you and means so much. But when you hear it 14 times in a row in 30 minutes. I know it gets hard to hear every personal, but man, what you do and what y'all do as songwriters and what you do so well is a gift, and it's rare.
Man, I appreciate that very much.
Very phenomenal.
And that means a lot.
What was the song you used to seal the deal with your wife?
Man.
That you had her.
I'm trying to think of what she saw in that dude. There wasn't much there except
that song. Was it Mary? That's after you're married, right?
Oh, Hey Mary.
Hey Mary, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of honestly was just a fun. I mean, I used her name because it's my wife, but
you were already married.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we met at 20, married at 20. No, met at 19, married at 20.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so we've been together for a long time, but
when did you adopt your daughter? Talk a little bit about that.
So she's 14 now. When we got her home, she was a little under 2. She turned 2 like pretty soon after she got back. I guess I should assume people don't know the story, which is she's adopted. She's from Ghana, and she's magic. She's the best. That's a whole it's always hard to talk about it, not because I'm guarded about it, but it's such a large subject with so many facets. It's hard to put it all in one thing. Like it is with all your kids, it's there's a trillion stories that show who they really are. But she's amazing. She's magic. Part of her story is she is in a wheelchair. She has cerebral palsy, which is part of our family story, part of what our daily life. But kind of the headline is that she's talk about the spiritual life. I live with a true centered guru who's 14,
Isn't that cool?
It's
how much is she teaching you at this point, you think?
So much. Right. And all jokes aside, I feel that way, and there's obvious dad things I bring to the table, and we have those things, but there's a lot of, along with the hurdles in her life, there's a lot of superpowers and things she's had to overcome that just put her in a space that I will never reach on this trip around the sun.
And it makes you feel small when you worry about some little problem.
Yeah.
That's nothing, man. Look what she's conquered.
Totally. And I still find a way to do it, even though I live with her every day, because that's being a human. But
Right.
there's a lot, I will say there's a lot less of it. I think that, you know, in our household, there is a somewhat low threshold of like, we just naturally know we can do this because look, she's laughing and having
Right.
the best time, and
Exactly.
we just came back from physical therapy, and she worked hard and this and that, but
And-
she's kicking ass, and
Right.
it's awesome. She loves music, loves horses,
The-
loves dance.
The Instagram video of you pushing around.
Oh, the super fast.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, that was
She was
fun.
enjoying that.
She was. She likes to go fast.
Is your wife mainly the full-time caretaker in this situation?
She is. Yeah.
I mean, not full-time, but I mean like when you're on the road. I mean,
Yeah. She's from the beginning.
Right.
You know, super woman. I mean, I'm very hands-on when I'm home, and we're very involved
Where
together.
where
but
was the drive to adopt from a foreign country and go that route? I mean, was it just happened that way, or
there's no like super amazing answer. We just at one point I had been on a tour. There were like signs. We believe in signs and just listening. And I came home. She was there, and we both had been thinking about adoption. We'd never tried to have kids. Hadn't decided if we wanted to. It was just one of those
Right.
things, you know. How we got to Ghana is like a longer conversation about domestic adoptions and us being younger and the age of kids and what we felt prepared for. And then knowing someone and that the Ghanaian process was new, so it was smaller, less, you know,
Right.
there's so much.
Red tape.
Yeah, and just, you know, the world of international adoption, you have to be really careful. It's,
Right.
you know. But all that aside, that's a longer story. We got her home after a couple of visits, and
and never look back?
it's been magic. It's been all the things.
What you're a singer, you're a player, you're a writer, you're a producer. You got to take one away. I mean, you can only take one of those with you. You know,
I get to pick one.
You get to pick one, whether it's the writing, the singing, the playing, or the producing.
Man,
Um,
I think I know that.
I'm glad to know I don't actually have to decide.
Right.
I don't even think I could. I don't know if I could answer that.
If I had to lock you in a room, if I had to lock you in a closet and said,
You want a pen or
you
you want
can
a
you got a pen, you
Yeah.
can have a guitar, or you or you can sing. You know.
Probably songwriting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really? It was the writing part.
Yeah, I think so.
And
But,
It's too deep, man.
it's
Putting it out there on the paper. It's just what he does.
That's at the bottom of it. That for me, that's where I come from. That's where the house is built on.
okay.
Not that that's the way, but that tends to be the way that feels right for me.
So, and I won't make it too hard. So you're going to continue to write songs for the rest, say another 30 years. Well, they got to get pitched. They got to go to somebody. And let's say that there's no red tape. That that everybody's looking for songs, and you had to pick, let's say 3.
3 people that would record something.
They're
I've
still
written.
alive, and you've written. Since you can't sing it yourself, somebody's got to sing your music. Otherwise, it's just words in a shoebox somewhere. But so you can get it to anybody. Who do you want singing for you? Who do you want singing your words for the rest of your life? If you can, you don't have to do them in order, but or is there one? Do you have one that you would want to sing your message for the rest of your life?
Man,
I just didn't want to pigeonhole you.
No, I'm trying to think like of someone, an existing artist now that I like that I would want to.
Older, younger. And I'll even let you. One of them can be dead.
Well, most of the guys or gals I'm thinking of would just write their own better song.
You would want that voice delivering your message.
Okay, let me think. Man,
That is a tough one, man.
you know what?
I gave him 3.
How about this? Here's a knee-jerk reaction. Because he would only do it his own way, and it would make me see it differently. A Johnny Cash would be pretty cool.
Really?
That would be pretty cool.
That would be wild.
That's just off the,
Yeah.
like, I don't even know, like, the whole catalog. I love and respect so much Johnny Cash, but I'm thinking as a way of, like, what he did with the American records, all those covers was so poignant, and, like,
song,
that hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So good.
Is there anybody current that you see coming up in any of the genres? It doesn't matter whether it's a voice of Teddy Swim, or it's a Sturgill, or is there any? If you could collab with anybody, if you could produce anybody today that's out there, how about that?
That's an interesting one. I like so many different styles, and it's hard to do because as a producer, I don't want to will me on anyone because like they have their.
I do, so that's why I want to know.
I know. What's my problem? I'm having a lack of imagination today. Let me see.
There's got to be somebody you'd go, man, I'd love to cut a record on that guy.
I mean, so many people.
Or you can get 3 or 4 of them too.
I mean, I'm trying to think.
Make a dream team.
Not just like not like a fame thing, but what would be like super interesting? I'd have to think about that one. I'm kind of stumped.
What do you listen to nowadays? What are some?
A lot of times, stuff I'm producing because I'm when I'm not touring, that's what I'm doing. So there's a lot of music being made, and so much good new music. Like feeling great about getting to work with people on their music. It's just such a testament to, if you're saying who you're listening to, even though it's people I'm working on. Like I'd put their music up with anybody's. Like as in, there's so many people out there who have something amazing to say and sound like have their own thing. And so like Taylor McCall's a good friend of mine now, but we started as working together. We've made a bunch of records. Olivia Wolfe and like Sister Strings.
Mm-hmm.
That work with Brandy Carlisle, and they're their own artists. We've been working a lot together. So I get to hear and be part of a lot of, other people's things. So my mind and my ears normally listening to that.
I tend to find that the biggest hurdle for today's artists, whether they're at whatever level they're at, songwriting, if they're out there on the road, if they're in the music business, if they know anything about the music business, the hardest thing that they're trying to accomplish every day is to find something interesting to listen to. Because when you go, hey, man, what do you listen to? They go, I don't listen to the radio. It just drives me crazy, because it's, for one, they know the business. So unfortunately, they may hear an artist that they just know the business side of it, and they don't. They just don't. They don't like the artist because they ran into them at a business thing, and it just it's because it's a small world out there. I mean, you're living in Nashville, which is country music USA, but I definitely wouldn't throw you in a country genre. I don't even know because it's just phenomenal. I mean, it's because country. Everybody's listening to your music from all different facets, from my mother's age to my brother who works in old. Everybody knows your music, especially in Texas. I guess. But you're in the middle of country music, and you're not. The names that you're talking about producing and working with, isn't your names that people are going to recognize in today's country, realm. So how did that end up where you're in Countryville, but not right in the middle of country music? You're not in there with Carson Chamberlain you're not doing that. You're not in those deals with.
I did that for 12 years.
When you came to Texas with Wade Bowen and Randy Rogers and that's kind of where I first.
Yeah. But so I met Wade through Alicia Pruitt, who was my plugger for my first publishing deal.
Okay.
And I was in a deal like that where you do write 5 days a week, and there is like a bullseye in a way. But early on in my publishing career, to Alicia's credit, actually, I didn't have to mess with that much because she signed me and let everyone know, like, here's what he does. And but there were years and years of touring, coming home, writing songs, some 4 or 5 days a week going downtown, writing with other people. It's just like anything else in life. There was a million blessings and lessons. There was several things I look back on and think I was really Shaky Bridges. That's what it's about. The first
Mhm.
lyric of that song is, I've put my name on songs I'd never sing. Like
Right.
when you're 22 or 23,
Yeah.
even me, I felt like I knew who I was, but I also knew everyone wants this thing, and it seems like that'll help me, put
Right.
money on the table or
That's-
go to the next level. And I feel like my experience of town was even less of that than most people, because I kind of knew that going in. There was something to preserve in a way, whereas I feel like some people can get very lost if they don't know what they really want when they go Nashville or LA or the Texas scene, whatever.
Right.
Like if you don't know what you really want, you might wake up and have something that doesn't
That
make
what
you
you-
happy or isn't you,
Honky
Right.
tonk, but donkey donk.
Yeah, but
I mean,
so,
it just
but
depends.
how are you? Because what I have a tendency to see that when these artists, so you do that for 12 years and discover who you are and discover, I'm kind of a square peg in a round hole here as far as me and where my happiness is, not what you were able to accomplish there, because you're writing and you're, like I said, I mean, everybody knows, I mean, we know who you are during that time, so your name's out there. I mean, it's not like you're unsuccessful by any means, but it's just not you at the moment. So how do you disengage from that, but don't disengage from the entire scene, the state, the area? Because
Yeah.
so many I see when they do it, it's either get back to Massachusetts or LA or somewhere where it's like, my style is more Beale Street or LA than it is, Broadway. So how were you able to stay there and still, I guess, not crave it every day and not feel like you had to try to resubmit yourself in it? I mean, what was the release and the freeing thing?
I think just, as we all do, you hopefully learn a little bit as you go through something. And I learned, you can't chase every rabbit. There's only so much energy you have to give to something. So as my artist career there's some years where I was like, maybe I'll just be an artist and not do the writing thing. Or maybe the professional writing thing.
Right.
Like different seasons of that. And it's such a gradual evolution that it's hard to kind of name it, but I feel it's kind of a similar crossroads that I got to in touring in Texas and in other places, which is it's a similar decision where I know we can, if we make these decisions, we could probably pull out 15,000 kids at this place every time we come, type of a thing, or 5,000, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's some people's joy. Like they want to like throw a great time, help people like come out of what they're thinking about, sell the beer,
Yeah.
do the thing. I think if that's what you're feeling is your thing that makes you happy and that people love about you, we need that. That's
Right.
great. I only care about people coming that want to listen and be part of a night where we're going on a journey. And there's only so much of that you can do if you're trying to facilitate the other rabbit.
Right.
And
Right.
so, kind of similarly, in the writing world, there's just enough times that, like, there was no song that came out I was embarrassed about. There's no major skeletons in the closet. It was just like every time I might step out of a room and think, why do I feel like I was just at any other job?
Right.
Or why do I feel a little bit, I don't know, depleted or negative? Not tired, but just like a little shift.
Right.
And it could be a line from a song, it could be a whole song. It's not like I couldn't even name one, but enough 3, 4, 5 times where I decide I can't. My goal is I want to make art.
Yeah.
I want to make art because I need to, because it'll help me and sometimes teach me like things I need to face, and hopefully it will help other people do that. So I try to that's my filter,
So you're writing it from a servant standpoint on so many ways. You're just trying to serve people with it. It is a self-gratification thing on some level because you're writing for you, because it's
A release.
to get it out.
Yeah.
And but it's to hopefully serve somebody else.
Oh man, it hits so many people. I mean, everybody's gone through stuff on that album.
No, it's a journey. How much tonight do you feel like? I mean, how much of it is going to be skinned tonight compared to some of the other? How's your show now? I guess is what I'm saying. What can people expect when they see you on your next tour stop? You know, is it going to be? Is it? Because some artists just go out to just promote the album.
Right.
What is it for you? I mean, is it the album each time you're going, each tour, or is it just I may add 2, I may add 4, just kind of how I feel that night?
I mean, honestly, this last tour and this tour, I have most of the guys that I made this record with on that stage. So it's been
cool.
Like a dream of mine, actually. It's been so fun. The last tour, it revitalized my excitement of touring in a way that magic from the studio we talked about can be brought to the stage if you surround yourself with people who you trust, who you know, and who will jump into the free fall, but be watching for the magic to happen.
Right.
We've had the best shows. It's been the best. These guys are awesome. We're gonna play a lot of the new songs. A lot of the new songs are in the set.
That's cool.
I think there'll be enough for, all
everybody,
people,
every walk of fanhood for you, I guess, will be.
But it's heavy on the skin.
That's cool. I mean, that's why we love booking you back every year and when you got a new show, when you got a new record coming out. That's why fans go to live music. I think it's to see. To be excited about the record come out, then the record comes out, and you get some of it, and then all of a sudden the tour comes, and you're like, I get to go see it, and they really just want to come up and tell you how much they love it, on some level, whether it's sitting there clapping or whether it's to get to meet you in the merch line or something, it's the new music is what gets them out of the house.
Yeah.
Is there a song that you feel like you have to sing every time or almost every time? Or not really?
I don't feel like I have to sing anything anymore, but I do. I just pick what I love to sing.
Because Hubbard's joke every time before he sings that song is, when you write something, make sure you're prepared to sing it for the next 50 years.
It's an interesting topic because I think you should. There's a line of you love and respect and understand the history that someone has with a song. I have them with artists that I love.
Yeah.
And there is something to, even if you're not feeling it, play the song. People want to hear the song.
Right.
But there is like this other side of the conversation, which is if what you come for is that you're on the journey, then sometimes backwards is not the energy.
Yeah.
And you just got to hope people are ready to kind of go there with you.
Well, your true fans are going to travel with you on that, but the ones that see you for the first time, they're like, man, he didn't sing such and such.
Yeah.
But
I think after enough times they don't hear that song.
Yeah.
Like not in a spiteful way, but they'll just get the message that that's not the vibe. Like that turn the channel then.
Yeah.
Right. No, and that's what they have to do because it's
you're setting the mood there. I mean, you're going through a story. It's a
and because it's a.
You can't just jump from here to there all the time.
Yeah. Especially if there is like a song we were playing in college and everyone was, the Jägermeister was flowing and it didn't matter. Like, that's cool, but maybe I'm 41 and it's a different,
Corey Morrow,
it's a different show.
Corey Morrow, the first time he played her, and he was at that point in his career where he was like, I don't want to be barefoot on stage all the time, and he's like, people, he goes, I've had, he was kind of in that transition to where it wasn't too new, and he was like, people are actually mad at me because I'm playing my music on stage with a pair of shoes on. They're like, I thought you did it with your shoes off. He's like, what's that got to do with the licks or the words?
My voice?
Yeah, exactly. The lyrics and the licks didn't change, It's just now you can't see my feet anymore,
People just, they get used to it.
And they just, it becomes part of, I mean, I guess, I don't know. You're like seeing Willie without trigger or something. I mean, like,
Right.
whoa,
Didn't
what are we-
realize that many people had foot fetish.
Right, exactly. I've never seen Corey's feet. Now I kind of halfway want to check them out, see what all the
What's going on
what
with
all
his feet?
what all the fuss is
Some of these feet.
But well, we won't keep you longer because I know you got a lot of work to do and you got them to go. Is there anything that you want to get out? While you got a chance of what? Is there anything coming new that you got something on the horizon? And one of the questions I ask you: how often in your career as a songwriter for 20 plus years now? And this is for the other songwriters that are going to be listening. How often in your career have you thought, well, I'll never be able to write another song because I've given up all my ideas. I mean, all my ideas are done. I talk to some of these guys, especially when they hit that 29 to 35-year-old and that they've been writing and they haven't made it yet or whatever.
Right.
And they start to think, I just ain't got no more good ideas. All my good songs are behind me. Has it happened to you in your career yet, or have you been blessed to wake up every day with a great idea?
I've not been blessed with a great idea every day, but I also don't fear that because the more that I really believe that it's not that I don't think I'm a good songwriter and that I have the skills and I hone the skills and I've done it a lot, but the more it becomes like you learn a skill to forget it and then get lost in the gift of it in a way, like a good musician, like a good, guitar player, piano, whatever, drummer. And so I believe there's like a never-ending well that we're all pulling from. So there's no lack. It's just a matter of where we are personally, physically, spiritually, mentally, wherever, to find that quiet space, that internal journey we've talked about earlier, to just sit in some awkward silence and try to listen to where it wants to pull you. It sounds like, if you haven't felt that, it sounds like mumbo jumbo.
No, yeah.
I mean, it could. I would probably feel that way.
No
but
doubt, yeah.
I also can't pretend that's not my experience.
Right.
And I haven't figured out how to convey. I'm sure someone has the ratio of craft to mystery.
Correct.
The mystery is the huger part of the pie, but the craft is important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely the bigger part is it just coming out of the air somewhere and what the mystery part. So in order to get to there, you have to. How long did it take you before you realized you were a songwriter? Because in order to be able to be where you're at, you got to know you're a songwriter. So at what point in your career, what record did you finish up and go, or was it based upon the publishing deal and having to do it 5 days a week to where you just got told that you just had to tell everybody when you were 22 that you were a songwriter and it just stuck? I mean, what was there?
I just I think I kind of felt like a songwriter from the moment I started writing these songs.
Okay.
Because if you put a talent cap on what makes you a songwriter, I don't know. I feel like it might stop someone from just writing a song.
Right.
It's trying to think. I mean, there's no getting around the fact that when people react to your music in a certain kind of way, you internally go, "Oh wow, okay, that maybe I've got something," or maybe that song has something. The kind of normal middle school talent show, people kind of getting excited, okay,
Right.
Well, but that could just be whatever. When it got to I guess because of my parents, when I was gigging and taking my PA system around, I was playing some covers, but really it was still a lot of originals. So I feel like I was a working songwriter,
Right.
really young. And who the hell's gonna tell you you're a songwriter? Just
Right.
do your thing. No one can tell you you're a songwriter or not. Just do what's inside of you.
Did you ever? I know a lot do. Did you ever? Did you ever suffer from imposter syndrome?
Always.
Always. Still to this day.
Yeah, in some ways. I mean,
It's
I
funny.
think
I don't think that's something that artists ever get rid of, and I mean it's so. I mean, what's? I don't know. I mean, what's the answer behind that? But that How can you be Sean McConnell and selling out rooms and doing that, and then still suffer from the imposter syndrome? I'm not saying I'm saying you're phenomenal. You've been doing it for 20 something years. There's nobody that's going to walk into a room with you that's in the business, that knows anything about it, that doesn't go, holy shit, that's Sean McConnell. I'm sorry, they're going to, their only decision that they're trying to make is, do I walk across the room and introduce myself? And if I do, am I going to look like an idiot?
Right.
You know, and I know from being in that position that there's always somebody across the room that's higher up on the pyramid. But do you think guys and women, you think Dolly has imposter syndrome at some point?
Man, I would imagine not, but maybe. I mean, it's not something. I know some people are really hung up on it. It's like a spectrum, probably.
No, right, you're right.
It's like a healthy amount of just not walking around and feeling like I've got this thing in the bag.
Perfect.
Because, hey, who wants to be around that
right,
person?
Right, exactly.
And it closes off like you're not learning. If you know things, you're not learning.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, cool. That's good.
Do you have a book of, like, when you get stuck, lines that you've written down over the years that you go back to and read through, and maybe to fit a melody you're working on or something like that? Do you have? Are there lines that you've written down 5 or 10 years ago that you haven't wrote a song for yet?
Yeah.
You got a book of them, or?
I got a book of them. I got thousands of voice memos.
You got?
Yeah.
There's like every other songwriter, it's just, which ones kind of make
How often
demand.
How often do you go to that?
Less often these days, but sometimes I will, like on a plane, I'll be like, for these 3 hours, I'm going through, I'm listening, I'm labeling, see if there's anything in there I forgot about, but it's very rare. It's mostly, it's a lot of looking at, being in the present, but also like looking ahead to what's new, what's...
Because unfortunately, the line from 8 years ago just doesn't ring true anymore.
Right.
You're not going to feel it. You're not going to be able to...
Or maybe you do in a totally different way.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Wow,
I know what I was talking
Like,
about.
whoa!
Now,
I wrote it for this, and now look at it going down that thing. So that's
true.
Or like I thought I knew that then.
Right.
I had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Do you have one? I mean, do you have one of the big songs that you would rewrite? That you would,
One of my songs?
Yeah, is there one of those songs out there you're like, heck, if I could write it now at 40, I'd write it,
Right. I mean, it's not only like, obviously you can't, but I think that like, it's just boring. It's kind of like, it's the same thing about, are you excited by evolving or are you happy just, some people, that one thing is just their thing until they die, and that's what,
right.
It's a beautiful thing.
So what's
add a verse maybe?
Do it.
And maybe add a verse to one of your songs?
Add a verse, maybe update it.
Yeah.
I can't ever imagine doing that, but I heard that Leonard Cohen, like, I don't know this exact right story, but there is a release of Hallelujah where it was like a re-release, and he either added or adjusted things. I think added because the original version was so many verses. I'm probably really screwing that story up, but he's one of the greats, and he wanted to do it. To me, it feels like I want to not be worrying about that song anymore. But if it was Hallelujah, I'd probably stick around to figure it out.
We re-release this one.
I didn't always understand it. Now at this point, I understand the concept after being around artists for a few years and stuff like that. It never made sense to me. What I'm getting at is that the whole Garth Brooks, Chris Gaines thing. At first, and who made me think about it was when Sturgill did the Johnny Blue Eyes, this thing, and I thought, why would anybody do that? And then I got to thinking, how difficult it must be for a singer and a songwriter to write 20 albums, 10 albums as their life progresses and progress, as we've been talking about the evolving, and keep, and the fans, and if you're worried about the fans losing, so
right.
I understand now after seeing what songwriters have to go through in their progression and their evolving, why some of them are like, I'm just going to change my name and put something else out there so people will get a fresh look at it, and I'll get a true reaction on whether or not they like it
Right.
or they hate it, because at this point I think they're just listening to it because I'm Garth Brooks. I'm sure it was
Right.
had to be some of that. Morgan Wallen made a comment. He was getting interviewed by, I think, Theo Vaughn. He was like, I want to do an EDM album and release it underneath a total different name. Don't tell anybody it's mine, just because I want to see if I'm any good at it. You know? And and it was like he just has the understanding that if Morgan Wallen releases an EDM album, they're going to listen to it because it's Morgan Wallen, you know. And
Sturgill did that deal. That was wild.
Yeah. But I mean, I understand it on some level. So I mean, I guess it wasn't. I just was kind of thinking about the evolving, what you were thinking, and made me think that I can understand why artists at times would change their whole name to be able to evolve, because they can't figure out how to evolve internally to where the fan base can get.
Right. Right.
Yes. But you've got a knack for it. You've been able to. My point is that you've been able to make that transition without having to change truly who you are. You've just shown everybody the other side of you as you've grown. It's been a pleasure to see you. And not all artists are willing to give themselves over to their fans that way and let them see their inner workings like you, especially on this album. So it's a treat from a fan standpoint to get to learn more about you through your music, which ultimately is all you probably want from day one. What, you know, so but it doesn't always happen. We don't always get that as fans.
Right.
So
thank you. There's only a handful that do it, really.
Right.
I mean, everybody's pulling other songs or, you know, trying to hit that big one. They're not just laying it out there honest all the time, and it's cool to see. Like I said, Rodney Crowell, I'm a big fan.
Me too.
And he's kind of same path kind of man. You can.
I just heard a song off his new record, and I was like, never heard him sound like this. I've got to hear.
Yeah.
This Tyler Bryant and Trina Shoemaker did it. Actually at Dockside, which is a studio that Justin Pocket, my bass player, runs.
Okay.
Yeah, he's always. I don't know that much, as most people do. Like, his career has done so many things.
Oh man.
But even from, I got to write with him once, which was super amazing to just see his process a little bit, and but to the point of the other conversation, it would appear that he really enjoys doing something new every time.
Right.
And it just makes it, you know, it's exciting.
He's growing.
Exciting. Yeah.
For him, you can't tell him that he's Rodney Crowell, the artist with a 55, 60-year career. He's just like, I'm just Rodney Crowell, the singer-songwriter. I'm waiting to see what my career is going to do, you know. And I think the same thing with those guys like Hubbard and certain guys, you know, Kevin Russell with Shiny Ribs. Some of those guys, you know, they're just trying to figure out who the artist is going to be next week inside of them, and they can't wait to find it themselves. And they're just fighting every day. And you're one of those guys that's like, you just seem to be excited every day to find out who the next artist is coming out of you. And it's really fun to watch.
And Rodney did a lot of producing too, so y'all have
Yeah.
that in common too.
Right.
So
He's done so much. He's really amazing.
Well, I will cut you loose so you can get to work. Cody and I, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
We'll share you with the rest of Kenny.
Yeah.
We'll keep you here all night talking to you.
Yeah. So
I
we'll
really
let you
enjoyed
get
the
after it.
conversation.
So, Sean, thank you again, and we'll see y'all on the trail. So appreciate you.
guys.
Enjoy it, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.